Hello, fellow beings of light, and welcome to episode 8 of the Your Goddess Awakening podcast. We have wrapped up our 3-part series for the first half of winter, which delved into the theme of reset and 3 A's: alignment, agreements, and attachments. That means we are kicking off a new 3-part series today for the second half of winter. This time around, our theme is Reconnect, and we'll be discussing 3 C's: reconnecting with cycles, with our chaperones, i.e. our guides, and with our core, our heart center, our inner fire, our intuition. Given that we have just entered a new year, a new cycle, what better place to start than with cycles? Joining us for this episode will be our inner children. They seem to be jumping on board with a lot of our work together this month. I think I get why they're appearing for this episode, though, as reconnecting with the concept of cycles requires a deep level of letting go, what many would consider as having blind trust or blind faith. What better guides for approaching everything from that kind of perspective than reverting back to our childlike innocence, back to a time and space where we were essentially a blank slate, not only fresh in our forgetting and just starting on our journey to remembrance, but also untouched by the people and circumstances that could and often would lead us further away from our remembrance and reawakening instead of towards it. Now, the concept of cycles can refer to many things: the moon, planets, and stars, the weather, agriculture, migration patterns, the seasons, and time itself, the stages of our lives. Honestly, anything and everything, which is the point I'm ultimately trying to get at. Our existence isn't linear. It is not a straight line without any variation. It is not a straight line with a perceived start and end point, but rather a series of cycles that continue infinitely, a new one beginning each time one ends. The most relevant example of cycles to the work that myself and many are doing now would be expansion and ascension. There are levels, dimensions that we work through and up, that we expand and ascend through. For me, I see these as spirals. They start out narrow at their center point, and as we do the work, they expand and rise and eventually shift into the next level where we do it all over again, and so on, expanding more and more infinitely. I can sense some are thinking and asking, but isn't there a start and end point? We start at the bottom and reach the top. That is true for our human existence, or rather experience. We do have a starting point at the bottom and have to work our way back up the infinite spirals or cycles. But what this fails to take into account is that before we incarnated into our human experience, we did the exact same thing. but in reverse. Our light bodies started at the infinite expanded and ascended point and spiraled, cycled down to forgetting so that we could restart and expand even further than they ever could through our human experience. No start or end point, just infinite spiraling down to limited, a reset, then spiraling back up to infinite again. Okay. We are getting off track a little bit. Let's cycle back around, pun intended, to the linear thinking we, as humans, tend to get caught up in. We touched on it during our third reset discussion on attachments, that outcome-based attachments imply straight line, linear thinking and living. We set a goal, we work towards it, we achieve it, and are done. When in reality, they are instead a never-ending cycle because we jump from one goal to the next into the idea of bigger and better and are never actually done. It is never enough. We are never truly fulfilled. That is not the kind of cycle we want to live in or on, a linear one. So focused on that straight line that never actually ends that we are missing out on what is happening in the curves, in the flow and momentum of that cycle, beyond that straight line, in the expansion of those spirals, beyond that straight line, that place where life is happening, where the journey is happening, where moments and states of peace, connection, enjoyment, fulfillment, and a whole lot more are happening. The same line of thought applies to other never-ending cycles that come in the form of straight line, linear thinking and living. Narratives of you and your experiences that are defined by others or the experiences themselves and constantly follow you, cling to you. They can be abuse and trauma-based, culture and economic-based, or something else. When you allow yourself to be defined by those narratives, allow everything leaving and entering your energy field to be filtered through them, you are on a straight line that never actually ends. And you are missing out on what is happening in the curves, those spirals, the moments where your remembrance, your resilience, your experiences try to show you the opposite, try to guide you off that line, off that narrative, and back to your inner truth and purpose. I know I could call all of these straight lines I'm referring to negative or bad cycles instead of saying straight lines, but I can't and I won't, because I don't see things in terms of negative or positive, good or bad. Everything has a place and a reason, an experience that I am meant to have, to get something out of, to learn from. So what some would term negative or bad, I would argue, are in fact positive and good. It is all about the perspective you choose to have, that you choose to face your experiences in life with. So for me, if what I'm thinking, feeling, or doing is not in alignment with the perspective, the choice I just described, I'm stuck on a straight line that is leading me nowhere. And I am missing out on what I am meant to have, to get, to learn. I am missing out on remembering and reawakening. I am missing out on expanding and ascending. So I am missing out on the cycle, on the spiral. That's kind of why I'm using those terms to differentiate the two. I hope what I'm trying to express makes sense for you. If not, perhaps think about what would happen if you took a spiral, a cycle, the outer and inner ends of it, if you were to draw one out, and stretched them out. You'd have a straight line. You'd go from something interesting and creative with a momentum that always moves you forward and outwards, upwards, to instead something that's boring and stagnant, that keeps you in the same constant state of being, right? Either way, you are on the same exact cycle, the same never ending line. One is just curved and winding, and the other is flat and straight. It's just up to you which one you want to choose to experience. It should be an easy choice. At least it is when your intent and your focus is on your inner truths, your purpose, your connection to all. You should want to live and experience the flow, the ups and downs, the momentum of those truths, that purpose, that connection. Mm. Our inner children are pulling my attention to the awareness upgrade course that I released back in November. And they're doing so because there's some connection they are wanting me to make between the course and this episode. That is for me for moving forward. So thank you. I've got that, and I will open myself up to it. Um, but they're also wanting me to point out the bare bones of that connection to all of you. Just what I'm getting off the top of my head from them bringing it up and into my field. That I'm being called to bring up these three specific things for a reason: your inner truths, your purpose, and your connection to all. For another similar comparison, when it comes to the concept of cycles, to show you the contrast between linear living and cyclical living. We have already discussed, just from a different viewpoint. These three things, your inner truths, your purpose, your connection to all, like cycles, like spirals. They are infinite. They are what is real, what has always been real, and what will always be real. Their opposites would be your thoughts, your emotions, and your physical body. These three things, like linear living, like goals, are temporary. They are not real. They do not truly define us because they are ever changing, jumping from one to the next. They are never complete. They don't lead to anything meaningful in and of themselves. They are never enough. They never fulfill us long term. The choice between the two here should again be an easy choice. Do you want real and infinite, or do you want fake and temporary? The contrast between the three infinite and the three temporary concepts is it's what I explored in that awareness course. So I get why our inner children were nudging me towards it. Ooh. As much as I love working with them, it's so like light and fun, but they can also be a bit chaotic, and channeling them in essentially a live format is always a struggle for me, particularly when it comes to my OCD, because it triggers a bit of anxiety. Is what's coming through clear? Is it in order? And you can't really know until it's already done and you're listening back. The rest of my team, they are good at working me through the basics, most of them, an outline before we get started. But our inner children, they like to throw me into the deep end and watch me try to remember to let go, to remember that I can float, to remember that blind trust and faith I mentioned earlier. Yeah, I think I'm kind of getting another reason why there were our guides for this episode. I'm not sure if you're catching it. So I'm going to go ahead and let go here and hope that I have managed a good mix of in-depth and simplified thoughts so far, and that everything is flowing and unfolding as it should. Now that we kind of have a good idea of the difference between linear and cyclical living, the difference between what we need to let go of, what we have been resetting over the last 6 weeks, and what we need to be reconnecting with, because it is what has always been. We have just lost our remembrance of it, gotten out of alignment with it. It's not new. None of this is new information. It's just that spiral working back upwards from that reset point. How do we do that? How do we reconnect? How do we get off the straight line and back into the flow and expansion of those spirals, that momentum? How do we shift our focus from the temporary to the infinite so that we can do so consistently? You do what I literally just did, what I'm pretty sure our inner children maybe tricked me into doing a little by guiding this episode. Let go. We let go of the attachments, the outcomes, and the expectations. We let go of the agreements that no longer serve us. We let go of what is not in alignment with our inner truths. And we trust in the infinite, in our inner truths, in our purpose, in our connection to source, in our connection to everyone and everything. It is honestly that simple, because once you begin to do so consistently, you will start to receive and remember. And once you begin to do that consistently, you will start to expand and ascend, to reawaken, and so on, infinitely. Not only that, your outer world will expand and ascend with you. It will begin to match your new levels or dimensions of awareness, consciousness. It will bring into your life people, things, and circumstances that match your rising energy and frequency, your expanding energy and frequency. Hello, manifestation? Now, I'm not going to go more in depth into what I have just asked you to do, because we covered most of it in the last 3 episodes on alignment, agreements, and attachments, which I'll go ahead and include as suggestions for videos at the end of this episode in case you missed any of them. And anything that's beyond that, I'm getting that it is going to continue to unfold as we move forward in these episodes throughout this season and throughout the year, that all that was needed here was to plant a seed, to give both you and I something to think about, to make us ask questions. I know I'm definitely going to be doing that on my end, keeping that promise I made to our inner children to be open to what they're trying to get me to see. As for you, think about the difference between linear and cyclical living. Begin asking questions about which you want to travel on during your journey, about which is going to keep you stuck where you are and limited, and which is going to move you forward and allow you to expand. Which is going to lead you nowhere, and which is going to lead you to anything and everything. And then ask yourself, if you decide that the latter is what you want, is worth it, maybe you can start to get to the point where you realize that letting go, trusting, is worth it. I'll leave it there. I think that's a good point. Thank you for joining us for our discussion on cycles. If you are interested in exploring the differences between your thoughts, your emotions, your physical body, and your inner truths, your purpose, and your connection to all, as well as ways to raise your awareness when it comes to each of the latter, the Awareness Upgrade course I mentioned earlier is available through the offerings page on our website at www.yourgoddessawakening.com. You can also get it and other content for free by becoming a VIP member of our Awakening community through our website as well. And actually, my inner child, mostly her, I can kind of feel the other ones egging her on though, are nudging me to provide a code to a discount for the course in case you might not be ready to full on join, the community and everything else we have going on. Because we're still new and you're still learning us and you're still seeing if you resonate with me and my team and our missions and what we're offering. So I guess I'm doing that. Um, she's saying 50. So I guess we're going to do a 50% off code and I will make it inner child, all one word. So if you go to our website and go to purchase the Awareness Upgrades course, just go ahead and put in inner child, just like that, and you'll get 50% off. And then I hope that by working through that, it not only helps you in your journey, but maybe helps you to connect with us more and get to that point where if we do resonate with you and are helping you on your journey, that you'll think about joining us long term. Okay, enough of that. Join us next Monday for the fourth part of my personal 6 degrees of soul separation journey. Then Monday the 3rd for the discussion of reconnecting with our second C, our chaperones, our guides. Also, I will be sharing an activation related to this episode on Friday. Think of it as a boost to what you received today, if you're interested in that and kind of want to take things to the next level. That's all I've got for you. Arishkam Nakatis Kalakate.